So today we're looking at upgrading a Lenovo ThinkPad T510 laptop. This beautiful model with this beautiful blue top, or purple top that I really like. Just something a little bit different than the standard black. So what I am looking at installing is a 128GB solid state drive, 2.5 inch. And that is to replace this hard drive that was previously installed that was failing and had a whole bunch of corrupt system files. There's another video that I can link to in the description below that showed how to retrieve files off a failing hard drive. My original intent was to set this up as a storage hard drive, but I'll get into that in a moment and why that's not possible with this laptop. So on top of the SSD, I'm looking at installing 8GB of DDR3 RAM. Let's get started. So first we'll flip it over, and we'll start by taking the battery out. And you just need a Phillips head screwdriver. We'll start with opening up the panel for the hard drive bay. And we'll also open up the cover for the RAM, and also access to underneath the keyboard. So there's a screw here and a screw here that you'll want to take out so you can access the other RAM slot on top of this one that is located underneath the keyboard. Alright, just two screws. Another wonderful aspect of this particular period of ThinkPad engineering. So we'll flip it back over, and we'll grab a small flathead screwdriver, and just find there's a couple of little access areas that you can reach in and use to pull up the keyboard. Nice and easy. You don't want to force anything. Okay. Nice, simple, easy access. So we don't even really have to disconnect the keyboard at this point, because as you see here, we have our RAM slot right here, and I'll just point this out. We have a WWAN card slot right here, and on different models of ThinkPad like the T530, T520, and many others, you can install a SATA SSD. Just something like this. Now that was my original intent with this laptop, but unfortunately I found out that you just can't install an SATA SSD. This particular model, it just doesn't work. It doesn't show up. You can't use it as a boot drive, unfortunately, so I'll just sadly put this cover back on and leave it alone. I would love to install that, but it's not going to happen on this model. So we'll take our 4GB DDR3 RAM stick in the slot, press down, make sure it's snug, and we'll take our keyboard and install it, reinstall it. So you want to tilt it back up. There's a little slot there for it to fit into up here. Just make sure it's lying flat. We'll just press it, pull it back down until it's lined back up, and we can put the screws back in on the underside. The characteristic red trackpad is missing on this keyboard, unfortunately. But it does, this model does, as it turns out, feature the beloved keyboard that everyone seems to like. That I also like as well, and I have a installed on a different ThinkPad that I use for personal use. Anyway, flip it back over. And now that we're done with the keyboard, we'll grab our 2 screws again. Once I locate where I put them, there they are. Okay. We'll take our other stick of 4GB DDR3 RAM, install it here. Now we'll have 8GB. Now we have our solid state drive. This is a refurbished solid state drive. As with any drive, undetermined lifespan, but hopefully long. I've had lots of luck with these. It's a Toshiba 128GB solid state drive that I bought in bulk. So we have our little hard drive caddy here, and we just want to make sure that our SATA ports are lined up, and in this case it's sticker up. Okay, so I just need to locate some screws and able to make sure this stays in the caddy. So I have a few that are taped into this other caddy that came out of a different ThinkPad. Let's take a moment to remove these from the tape. Okay, we have our 2 little rubber bumpers. Sometimes a hard drive or a solid state drive might be a little bit too big to install these, but in this case, this is a pretty thin drive, so I believe it'll add some extra. Oh, it fits perfectly. It's nice and snug. So now that we have that plugged into our SATA port, we'll place the panel back on. And our RAM and keyboard access cover with our 1 screw. Try to find another screw to put in the other slot. At the moment, we'll just secure it with the one that it came with. Alright. Put our battery back in. Flip it back over. And plug it in and start charging. And I have my USB drive that is loaded up with Windows 10. Let's stick that in. And begin the process of installing Windows 10. So, with our ThinkPads, after you hit the power button, we want to hit the ThinkVantage button nearby, or the Enter key, to access BIOS. And we'll just make sure that everything's in order before we begin. So I'll just keep continually pressing it until I hear a beep or we get to a menu. There's the beep. There's the screen again. There we go. So we'll hit F1 to enter BIOS. Alright. Let's get a better look. So it looks like our 8GB RAM is recognized, and finally get a look at what CPU is in here. It's the Intel Core i5 M5T20 at 2.40 GHz. Pretty decent little CPU. Still bummed that I can't install the SATA SSD, but life goes on. Let's check the date and time real quick. That is looking okay. Now we'll go to startup. Make sure our boot order's in order. And we'll change our... There's our Toshiba SSD. Let's put that up to number 1. And the name of my USB stick is not showing up, but I'm going to guess that's a USB hard drive. We'll put that up to number 2. Oops. Okay. And let's just take a quick little look around. Perfect. That's pretty much all. Just want to see that everything is as it should be. Alright. I'll have to stop the video here because my battery's about to die. But when we come back, we'll resume installing Windows. So we hit F10 to save. And yes. Okay, so we are back, and I've already turned on the computer again and gone to the startup and shop menu, which you should know how to access by now. So we'll hit F12 to select our boot, and we'll go, there's the name verbatim, store and go. So we'll select that, and we'll begin installing Windows 10. Alright, so before we do a little test run, I just want to demonstrate how I like to access command prompt during the setup process in order to wipe drives, excuse me, and just to make sure that we're ready to install Windows 10, just something that I like to do. So you can really do it anytime that you have the boot drive loaded up here. So I'm going to demonstrate this. We hit Shift F10, and now we're in command prompt. So we want to, just going to make sure that we can see what I'm typing. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, and we want to access disk partition in command prompt. And this is not something you have to do, but it's just something that I find really quick and easy and very handy. So once we're in command prompt, type diskpart, D-I-S-K-P-A-R-T, enter. Once we're in, we type list disk. We have our solid state drive as disk 0, and disk 1 is our USB drive. So we of course want to select our solid state drive, so we type select disk 0, and now that that is selected, we type clean, and that just, I know that the drive is wiped already, but just to make doubly sure that it is completely formatted, I just like to do it again. And also when I'm installing Windows onto other machines and I have secondary or third or fourth hard drives plugged in, we can wipe them all at the same time. So once we're done, we'll type exit and exit again. And now I'll resume with the installed Windows, and I'll come back and we'll do a little test run to see how it's running on this laptop. Okay, so we now have Windows 10 up and running, looking pretty good. So one thing that I always do with a fresh install of Windows, I'll just I'll eject the boot drive, and we'll run updates. Okay, so once we're done with that, we'll come back and just do a basic test, and just to make sure that everything's working okay, and that the solid state drive made the difference that we're hoping for. So we have Windows 10 up and running with all updates. I guess we'll just do a quick little test. One thing that I do like to do after I have to install a version of Windows Home Pro 64-bit, I have to use an account. So if you ever have to do that, or you want to remove your account, you just have to go hit the start menu, click on your little icon here, your name, your account name, go to change account settings, and you'll be brought to this window where you can click sign in with local account instead. And that gives you the option to remove this account and just have a regular account with no password. Perfect. Okay. And we'll go further into change account settings, and we'll just go right ahead and click on email and accounts, and let's just remove this account completely. Perfect. Specifically because this is not my laptop, so I don't want to have my account on it. It's just a throwaway account anyway, but all the same, it's not a device that I'll be using personally. So let's quickly restart. Okay, so just to recap, in order to remove my account, I'll click on Manage, and we have the option to delete account from this, delete this account. We'll click on delete, click done. Alright, and to change the account name with the Windows key, type Control Panel. And this is just because I accidentally didn't change it before. We'll go over to User Accounts, change account type, click on the only existing account, and we'll click on change the account name. And we'll just change it to Lenovo. And the client can change it to whatever they want on their own time. There we go. So now we'll download Google Chrome and just do a quick internet test. But as you can see, it's working pretty well, and the laptop is running great, nice and fast. Cool. So we'll unpin Internet Explorer, close it. We'll pin Google Chrome to the desktop. And this is just what I typically like to do with a fresh setup. And then somebody can change it if they like. But I just like to install Google Chrome to test. Just because this version of Microsoft Edge is not the greatest. At least for my needs. Alright. Looking good. Go to youtube.com. So we have a pretty quick experience still. And we'll just check how fast this is by clicking on a few videos. Cool. See, the response is pretty nice.
The beach was a great place for photo opportunities, but the photographer shared a friend quoted them as saying, "Some cat owners worry that their..."
Okay. So, I don't think I'm gonna test this anymore. Sometimes I like to test out games and other types of software, but being that this is not my laptop and I don't really feel like installing a whole bunch of software, then I'm just going through the motions just to test it out. I think we'll just call this a day, and hopefully you learned something, and hopefully this helps you out with your own T510 laptop. So thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.